Hey guys, it's Heather from Tomatoes, Poppies, and Everything Gardening. I'm over at my neighbor's house waiting for her and her dog Pepper to come out to play with Tonto. And we're going to talk about her tomatoes. And I'm going to ask her if she wants to do an update video on her tomato garden that we talked about a few months ago. And I'll link that video here in the description box. So let's get started. We're going to talk about tomatoes and new-ish gardeners. Okay guys, so here is Kenya once again, and you met her on the last tomato video, and I'll link that again in the description. And here are her tomatoes, and they're looking really well. So I'm going to ask Kenya a couple questions, and then she's going to ask me questions about staking up her tomatoes today. That's what we're going to talk about. So when did you plant? Do you remember what weekend?
I do not remember which week.
Was it like the very beginning of May or the very end of April? I'm thinking maybe you did yours the end of April. Maybe. I actually took pictures, so I'm gonna put a couple pictures here of when you planted, because we were gonna make a video then, and things got busy, and we didn't make the video in the moment when you were asking me all the questions, and so I think we kind of lost the momentum. But today you want to ask about trellising and tying up your tomatoes.
Yes.
So you can ask me and I'll tell you what I do or what I might recommend.
Okay. So I have been noticing that my plants, of course, are growing more.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to ask you. Some of them have like a bamboo support.
Yes, I see that.
When is a good time to put the cages that you
Okay.
recommended?
I would say very soon after planting.
Okay.
Because you don't want to disturb the roots, which will probably have spread up pretty far by now. You might damage them a little bit when you put the spike things or whatever you're going to use, but I think overall you're still at a really good point.
Okay.
A month from now, it would probably be much more difficult to get the proper staking done. So last year you used a lot of these little spiral thingamabobs. I have some of those too, and I've used those for semi-determinates. And determinates, those work really well. They're only, what, about 4 feet high? But this year you have a different contraption you want to try.
Yes, it's like a tree post, 4-post cages. They are what, 5 feet, I believe.
Something like that.
Yes.
And I used those my very first year of trying to do well at tomato gardening. So maybe we can break one open if you have it, and I'll help you put it together, and then we'll show what it looks like. We'll do that in a minute, but did you have any other tomato-based questions about fertilizing or?
Yes, so one thing that you recommended was to put the fertilizer while planting, and I did that, but I did it straight from the bottle and not with water.
So yeah, I saw you over here with that bottle, but I didn't want to intervene. But you directly poured the fish fertilizer in the hole without diluting it or mixing it with water. But your plants sure did take off after that. So what I do when I plant a new tomato start or a young plant is I dig the hole, or a trench. If they're really tall, you can make like a trench and lay them on their side. I put in just a pinch of Epsom salt, which that's optional, and about, I don't know, half a tablespoon or a tablespoon of slow release granular fertilizer. And
after that, how long do I need to maybe add more? Or
that's a good question. So looking at your tomatoes today, I think they're starting to look a little hungry.
Okay. How do you know when they're hungry?
Well, see how they look a little yellowy?
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say, and it's been a good month at least that they've been in the ground, maybe 6 weeks. So I think it's a good time to go ahead and feed them.
Okay.
You've got lots of blossoms, and that's a great thing. So they're really gonna move out of that fast growing phase where they need a lot of nitrogen and more into, when they're producing fruit, they're going to need more of like potassium and phosphorus.
Okay.
So that's where that slow release, balance, organic, well, you don't have to use organic, but fertilizer will come into play because it's got all those nutrients. The fish fertilizer is really high in nitrogen.
Okay.
And that's what they need in the beginning to get that growth going. Now, the geranium kiss looks really nice, but he's a nice little dwarf, so he's not going to get super big. So that's what I would recommend if you start to see some color changes like that. And, you know, I like to keep my plants about 12 inches up from the ground, free of the leaves. So it might be time to go ahead and pinch off some of those that are closer to the ground just to keep your plant healthy and happy, and maybe some of those soil-borne diseases off the leaves. Kit here. And then we're also going to use the spirals from last year. But we were talking about flowers and pollination because she does have some flowers starting to open. And so tomatoes are usually self-pollinating, but you might want to help them out since we don't have a lot of bee activity going on because we don't have any flowers yet. But we're talking about maybe putting some over here. Just kind of give your tomato like a tap so that some of the pollen can move around between the flowers. That's all. I mean, I've even grown a tomato in the house and there are no bees in my house. But just giving it a little shake, that'll move that pollen around between the flowers and help out. Okay, so we're going to build some trellises and then we'll be right back. So now we're back over by my property side, and I was showing Kenya this borage. It looks ugly now, but the bees absolutely adore it. There was a bee over here. I was just following him. So I said, why don't I bring some of the babies? There are some babies, like there's one right there. And we'll put a few of these babies over by her tomatoes and see if that helps out with getting some bees over to her property too, which isn't really that far away. Okay, so Kenya has her first A-frame trellis system going here. And I was looking at her tie-ups and just making a suggestion that it's great to use what you have, but if you have a better option, it might be a little better for the plant. These could cut into the stem if they're on super tight. So I was going to let her use some of these to try out from over in my raised bed area. Just ran these over. But also, Kenya, I've used like old t-shirts cut into strips because it's soft and you can tie it on there. You want to give. You want the tomato plant to move in the wind. Like you don't want it to move to where it's going to fall over, but if you keep it real tight and it's getting a lot of hard wind, it could actually snap this or break it. So we're going to just take these off and we're going to switch them out for the softer ties, and we're going to put it on a little bit looser so it has room to get bigger because this stem is going to get pretty big. Kenya has both of her supports now on. These are both indeterminates. They will keep growing until first frost. And then she has a very cute small dwarf, which is geranium kiss, and it only gets about 2-ish feet tall. Maybe a bamboo stick or two will be good for trellising that guy. And then these two are actually Mountain Princess, and they're different heights. I'm wondering if the one in the back got more of the fish for fertilizer. So they're both actually determinants, and they will get to a set height, and they're going to produce all their fruit over like a 2-week period, and then they're going to die off. So at that point, you can think about putting in something for fall. Or you could put in another, like a tomato that's going to mature before our first frost, or you could put in more beans, or you could put in squash. That would probably be a great time to put in some squash seeds and get a fall harvest of squash. So for those determinants, you're going to use the spirals, the red ones. They're about, what, 4 or 5 feet tall? Okay. And then I think that's good for trellising, right? Yeah. And we're going to come back and do a separate video on the deer control because I kind of brought this over, a week or two ago? Yeah. And I haven't completed. I have to find some more of those under my deck. But this is a fishing line fence, and this is to help keep the deer from coming over here and eating Kenya's tomatoes and peppers. And also we put a borage baby here, and that will help with deer control as well. But I do recommend if you can get some flowers when you go to Lowe's later, something that's already flowering that the bees like, that would be great to put in here, a few. And then also, while you're at Lowe's, you said you're going today?
Yes.
I would say get a bag of clay breaker. It looks like soil. It's in the soil section. It also helps condition your clay soil, but it has calcium. And because your tomatoes are getting fruit and blossoms, pretty soon when they start developing that fruit, they're going to want some calcium in the soil. And that's going to be important. And we're also I'm going to recommend go ahead and give them another dose of fish fertilizer. Put that clay breaker down all around the planting holes and all through the soil. 1 bag should be plenty. And then maybe get some organic or whatever you prefer. That's just what I use. Slow release granular fertilizer that you can sprinkle like top dress around the plants. And that's about it. Do you have any other tomato related questions?
Not that I can think of right now. Maybe later when.
Well, I'm definitely gonna come back and finish this fishing line fence. We just got to finish this corner and talk about some other deer control measures. And I was just saying to Kenya, go ahead and put some beans down there, some bush beans at that very far corner. You've got time to grow that. You might even have time to grow 2 rounds because we have a really long growing season. And well, I was trying to think if I was thinking of anything else to say, but we'll catch it on the next deer video. So bye guys, talk to you later. Bye.